Are you trying to decide if Eagan is the right city for you? You trying to figure out what the ups and downs, left and rights are within it, and why Eagan over Apple Valley, Rosemount, even Richfield or South St. Paul? Well, not only did you read the title of the video correctly to get here, but that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. Let's take a look. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is about life in the Twin Cities and the surrounding areas like Eagan, then make sure you subscribe below and tap the bell for notifications so you'll be one of the first people to know anytime more content like this is put out and to keep you very informed about our Twin Cities market. My name is Chris with the Twin Cities Minnesota Living Team, and me and my team get calls and texts and emails every day from people just like these that we've helped all across the Twin Cities. We absolutely love it. We've been faithfully serving the Twin Cities Metro for 15 years with a primary focus of this channel on the South Metro. But regardless of where you're planning, whether it's 7 days or 70 days, shoot us a message, drop us a line. We'd love to help keep you informed and plan a smooth transition anywhere in the Twin Cities. All right, so like I mentioned earlier, we typically have to have these very conversations with our clients on a regular basis about why one city versus the surrounding area is probably a better fit in one way or the other. So we figured, why not make a video about it? That way you and your family have a clear understanding of what's going on. And when we get the chance to talk to you later, you'll already be ahead of the game. So let's take a look, and let's start on the positive note. Let's look at some of the pros that Eagan, Minnesota has to offer. So first things first, we're going to talk about the education, the school system within Eagan. Now, you're going to see Eagan on a lot of top lists, and schools are a big part of that. They currently have 45 schools within the city itself, a mix of public and private schools that are all highly ranked. But, greatschools.org and niche.com, they both rank them A+, and there's plenty of good reason as to why. With a good mix between preschool, elementary, public, and private, they bring a lot to the table, but they even have open enrollment depending on where you're located with the School of Environmental Studies, which is affectionately called the Zoo School. Now, sure, technically this is in Apple Valley, and we'll definitely get more into depth about that school and Apple Valley in a future video, but the distance for the border is literally across the street from where Eagan and Apple Valley meet, so it's just another perk to throw in there across an already amazing educational system. Pro number 2, attractions. We are all about creature comforts here in Minnesota, and Eagan is no different. I mean, for good reason. There has to be some way to stay comfortable with how harsh the winters are, and it has to be more than just extravagant fair food. Now, to that end, Eagan has invested quite heavily over the last 20 years to really building out a lot of shops and infrastructure, and it shows. We've got some of the obvious ones like Chipotle and Sam's Club, but a couple years back, they built a very nice, large Costco. There's even Total Wine, Hy-Vee. There really is a little bit of everything. And sure, I get it may not be as sexy and as appealing as, say, the Mall of America, but having consistent, easy access to shops, restaurants, and commerce is typically one of the things that helps keep a city more desirable and more willing to be lived in, honestly. Beyond malls and like the standard suburban fare that you've come to expect in the Midwest, there's plenty of more like local things to experience here as well. There's the Minnesota Vikings Museum, believe it or not, if you're a diehard Vikings fan. There's the Capone Art Museum that has local wares and fairs from local artists. But beyond all that, if you're looking for like a good happy hour, night on the town, there's still plenty they have to offer as well. In the pros and cons of the Twin Cities video, I get into more depth about how much Minnesota just loves breweries. But even Eagan has a couple of their own. For example, go check out the Bald Man Brewing, which I think if you have hair, they'll still let you in. I hope so. But that's another good example of some of the local things they do to try to bring some of the attractions from the cities into the actual suburbs themselves. Now, obviously, being a suburb, they're gonna have the standard suburban fare that you would come to expect. You know, Perkins, Applebee's, Buffalo Wild Wings, things like that. But they also have some unique spots that are worth checking out as well. There's an amazing Italian restaurant called Andiamo, and one of my personal favorites right off Cliff Road is Doolittle's Woodfire Grill. Like the name sounds, they actually spit roast chickens inside an actual wood burning stove. Adds a nice like smoky, smoked flavor to it. However, if you're a little bit more bougie like me, then look no further than Burgers and Bottles, which actually opens up to a speakeasy in the back called Voldstedt's. Many delicious whiskey options and concoctions, good food, amazing ambiance, and plenty of local musicians and artists like Minnesota owns Tim Howe. All right, so for pro number 3, let's talk about the great outdoors. There is so much to do outside in Eagan if you love trails, trees, hiking, the works. You know, I graduated from the University of Minnesota Duluth along the North Shore, and I would still say that the Lebanon Hills State Park in Eagan is one of my favorite parks in the entire state. The Lebanon State Hills Visitor Center and the east side of the park actually offers interactive nature displays, course programs, reservations for equipment, and access to the park as a whole. It really is next level. The wooded trails and amenities are just one of a kind here. But you know, Lebanon's just one of the many parks that Eagan has to offer. Another favorite of mine is the Blackhawk Park, and there's even the Cascade Bay Water Park, which is an award-winning outdoor water park that has done great for what it offers. For kids, there are thriving football, hockey, baseball, and soccer communities year-round with tournaments and various disciplines all across the city. They tend to take really good care of the fields and the rinks to make sure that they're in good condition year-round. And our final pro number 4, proximity. So Eagan is in such a great spot for a lot of what Minnesota and the Twin Cities has to offer in general. We've already touched on its proximity to the Minnesota Zoo, the School of Environmental Studies, but you are less than 15 minutes pretty much anywhere in Eagan to not only those locations, but MSP Airport, as well as the Mall of America. And frankly, especially for those of you that might be looking at having to commute or having to travel a couple times out of the month or the year, being that close to the airport can make a huge difference in quality of life. Even the Twin Cities themselves are kind of right at your doorstep here. You're less than 20 minutes to St. Paul, and being that close can really allow you to kind of live in both worlds. Having the ability to go downtown to either city to have a show, a sporting event, a concert, something of that nature, even just a nice night out and have a fancy meal in the town, but still be able to come back to the peace, the quiet, and the serenity of the suburbs in a relatively short period of time. It can really allow someone to have it all. All right, so those are all the things we love about Eagan. Hopefully you found it informative, but obviously it's not all sunshines and rainbows all the time. There are still some drawbacks that you need to consider before making this a selection. Con number 1, public transportation. Now, to be fair, outside of either being in Minneapolis or St. Paul proper, this is going to be a common complaint. Minnesota in general just isn't really set up that well to accommodate public transport. And Eagan is along the light rail and can go to certain bus stations to allow you to take the light rail in and out of the Twin Cities, but even getting to and from the long-term or short-term parking, if you don't have access to a car, is going to prove difficult. It's definitely something you'd like to consider if regular access to transportation is something you would need to have help with. The bus schedules in the suburbs aren't terribly convenient, and Uber and Lyft will add up if used on a regular basis. Con number 2, there's not a whole lot in the way of new construction. You know, Eagan's been a pretty in-demand city for a while. It has grown very well. It's grown rapidly across the last 30 years, and there's just not really any more room at the inn. If what you're looking for is brand new, builder warranties, there's not a whole lot to choose from outside of teardowns or very specific areas. As of the making of this video, actually last weekend, I toured 2 homes with some clients out off Sibley Memorial Highway that were built in the last year. But guess what? They're middle unit townhomes whose backyard is an actual gas station. So that's kind of the slim pickings you're gonna find because of the lack of additional land to choose from. Now, in their defense, most of their homes are dated between the 70s and the 90s. And that's, statistically still a lot newer than big parts of the Twin Cities as a whole, but it still is gonna feel dated if you're looking for a newer aesthetic and a vibe of new construction building. All right, guys. Well, there's the good, the bad, the love, the hate of Eagan, Minnesota. I hope you found this informative. I hope it gave you a good series of understandings on just some of the brief parts of it. Be sure to check out, if you want to know a bit more, check out our vlog, where we actually go around and look at some of the homes and look at some of the areas known to Eagan, as well as the map video, if you want to get a deeper dive on commutes, timing, location. But as always, would love your feedback, love what you'd like to maybe hear us cover in some of the upcoming topics. And if any of this makes sense and you want to do like a deeper understanding of how this would cross and compare, we do have a Calendly link. Feel free to shoot us a message. We'd probably just host a Zoom call just like this to, in more detail, help you go over what would be the right fit for you, your family, your situation. In any case, my name again was Chris with the Twin Cities Minnesota Living Team. Thanks for your time, and I'll catch you at the next one.